Good morning. I know there are new people here because normally we have about 50 people registered in for our 5th annual U of M Biological Station Winter Research Meeting. We have about 70 registrants, and of course anyone is welcome to walk in any time of the day today, so we may have some people who aren't registered who are coming for parts of the meeting. So I want to welcome everybody. I know it is especially for people out of town, it's a little bit of a taking time out of your normal busy lives. Some of you have traveled very far, California, Texas, South Carolina, to work with us. So we thank you for coming, and thank you, and we look forward to a great meeting. This meeting, of course, is to allow us to get together at a time when we're not all engaged in teaching and doing research and all the things we're doing during the very busy spring and summer season. So we can just sort of meet one another, find out what one another are doing, hatch plans for the future, maybe catch up on some synthesis, basically to learn from one another and plan. So we're pleased that you can make it. I'd also like to thank our staff for working very hard. It takes a lot of work to put together this kind of meeting. So hats off to Alicia Farmer and Carrie Slavic and Jason Talent and everyone else in our Peggy Mead, and that's our Ann Arbor. Katrina Smith. Thank you. So I'm allocated 45 minutes here, but I'm not going to talk that long, I promise. If nothing else, we can start on the real interesting talks a bit early. But I do want to leave at least 10 minutes at the end for comments, questions, and feedback to this talk. Okay? So this is our agenda for the morning. I need not read and go through it, but you'll see that there are project talks through about 11:10. And then something I'll mention in a minute, we did succeed in getting one of the Provost's Third Century Initiative grants, a Transforming Learning for the Third Century Award. And after the award was made, serendipity is always a great thing, right? That's one of the good things about field seasons. We found that, let's see, does this have a? It does. We found that Rebecca Harden and Arun Agarwal from the School of Natural Resources and the Environment also got a Third Century Award, and there's a lot of interesting complementarity that we can explore. So Rebecca, I believe, is going to give the presentation. Maybe Arun and Rebecca. Did you have something?
Can we interrupt you for just a sec to share the screen for the people who are tuning in?
I think that turned off.
Okay.
So I'll turn it back on there.
All right. So while they're tuning people in, you should know that this is a live cast on the U of M Blue Jeans network.
Oops, that's not what I wanted to do.
So anybody who in the world who wants to chime in and listen to the meeting can do so. There's also an opportunity to log in interactively. You need a password for that. But if you have a friend who you think might be interested in all or any parts of this meeting, you can send them an email with the link and they can tune in. Are we live cast now?
Yes.
Well, I better comb the rest of my hair. Okay. So one of the things, as we talk today, I'd like us to think in terms of our not only the nuts and bolts of what we do year to year, even day to day, but our larger view. 2 years ago, we had a visioning statement that many of you in this room participated in. We had 50 or so people, students, staff, people from the community, faculty, researchers. And we crafted a vision that I'm not going to go through now, but that vision involved expanding our programs to do more work with more disciplines on more thorny problems, to bring more natural science courses to the station and more research activity, but to broaden that to include humanities and social sciences and even law, and also to become a regional node for the University of Michigan to reach out, use communities, both human communities and natural systems in the Great Lakes Basin to advance our understanding of environmental sustainability. So a lot of what we talk about today is rooted in that. One of the things that is important to think about in terms of expanding scope is the networks we work with. Now, you all have networks within your institutions. We certainly have them at the University of Michigan. But the biological station is a part of multiple networks. One of the networks we're a part of is the UNESCO Man of the Biosphere program. That's a little bit of an anachronism, isn't it? Which should be Humans of the Biosphere, I think. So maybe we'll lobby for that. Or since it's been Man of the Biosphere for about 50 years, maybe we can change it to Women of the Biosphere, just to balance it off. But we're a MAB program, Biosphere Reserve. There are 650 in the world. And I don't think this is a trivial thing to say. There are about, I don't know, maybe 24, how many in the conterminous U.S.? 40, right, it's on my slide, thank you. Notes. It's always great to have students here, especially those who pay attention. So there are 40 in the conterminous U.S., and if you note, there are 2 in the Great Lakes Basin. One is Isle Royale, which isn't very accessible, and then there's the U of M Biological Station. If I showed a global map, there'd be 3 biosphere reserves right up here in Canada. So one of the reasons for thinking about a biosphere reserve is we do want to be an example of promoting best practices. We want to link with similar facilities across the country and across the globe to share and expand knowledge. This is the UNESCO Man of the Biosphere program, lots of sites around the world. And so this allows us a conduits to collaborate with other field stations and biosphere reserves. Biosphere reserves are special places on the planet designated by UNESCO where humans and the environment have a very interesting interaction and opportunities to understand those interactions between the so-called natural environment and the human system. So we want to really use this mission and use our station as a tool for cooperation, not only international, but intranational, interinstitutional, interpersonal sharing of knowledge, sharing experiences, building capacity, and most important of all, promoting best practices. So I want to get to just some news now. We've referred to this past summer as our real estate summer. It is quite amazing, and Carrie deserves a huge credit for actually negotiating the U of M property process, which involves working with a good property office, but multiple dean's offices and everything. So this year, we, thanks to many of you in this room and many other donors, we acquired an 80-acre tract, which includes Smith's Fen. I know many of you have worked in Smith's Fen, Rex in particular, but many of his collaborators, many students have gone to Smith's Fen. Rex, you want to just say 2 words, or maybe 2 sentences or 2 paragraphs about Smith's Fen?
Yeah, it's unique to our property. It's a circumneutral fen dominated by sedges with a floating sedge mat, and a lot of interesting things there. There are some unique species there that have so far been found nowhere else in the world.
Yeah, and so that was a great, we managed to raise almost $100,000 to buy that tract. Thanks to, Rex was one of the leadership team who pushed us forward on that. The other, and acquired most recently, we just finished the legal work. I'd like Mark Paddock to stand up, and because he deserves a special note of gratitude. Mark lives in this little area right.
Doesn't show.
Well, yes, it does, Mark. Your house is right there. And this is the tract that Mark gave us. See, I can see your house from here, but you
The only unique species we have is me.
A subspecies, Homo sapiens paddock-gensius. Anyway, so Mark donated this 40-acre tract with a really nice meadow, open field, and 10 acres up in this corner across the road. So his house is here, and he donated 57 acres. So thank you, Mark. This is just a really generous gift. I know you're not the wealthiest person in the world, and this is just a tremendous legacy that you've conferred upon us. We also let's talk about other successes rather than goals. So finally, we were able to close Lathers Road on Colonial Point. As most of you know, new people may not, this is a really rare and unique resource. Colonial Point is essentially, by most measures, an old growth forest. It's over 200 years old. Dan, you want to say anything about Colonial Point? Dan Cashin?
It's old and neat.
Old and neat, yeah. Okay. Many of us have worked there or are working there, but it's got stands dominated by hemlock and huge. Oh, okay. Bring it in my pocket. That's what I get for. Mark Hunter, are you here, Mark? Mark always tells his students to put their cell phones on stun. Mine's now on stun. Oh, what happened? Help. Help. I have it up here. Oh. There. Okay, so that's Colonial Point. It's as you can see, disjunct from our main property, maybe about 3 miles south. And two things we are working on. One is the closing of East Branch Trail, which is a 2-track that goes across the Pellston Plain. It provides access to the Stream Lab, which is right here. We've had lots of problems with people coming in, making rogue roads, ATVs, fires, camping, bank robberies. Well, bank robbery, there's only one. It was a place of a switch-out car for a car that robbed, or a person, or people that robbed the Pellston Bank about 4 years ago. So we'd like to close that road. We went to the Emmett County Road Commission a couple years ago. We got some pushback, but we're going in again. Anything you can do to help us. I know Chris Vogel, who owns property in Emmett County, signed a paper that allowed us to pursue the closing of this road. So we'll continue to attempt to close it. We also now know that the Bassett property right here, which is 200 acres, touches the corner of Mark's donation. 5 40-acre parcels is pending sale. And this may be a tougher ask. We don't know what the price is. It's sort of negotiated right now, and there's some interesting ownership issues. But in any case, this is something we've had our eye on for a long time, because as you see, it splits us in half. Now, Mark has provided a connecting corridor, but it would be very nice to acquire that, and that's a goal for the coming year, is to hopefully acquire that 200 acres. Potentially, it's a developable area that we would not like people in. Just a little bit about Smith's Fen we've already talked about. So I want to talk about the 3rd Century Initiative. The 3rd Century Initiative is a proposal we wrote last summer. We submitted it in August. This was the 3rd year of this program, the 3rd and final year. So the provost basically, this was a request for proposals to consider awards that were aimed at large-scale changes to instruction, infrastructure, enabling faculty and staff to implement new learning approaches, right? And so when our former associate dean for natural sciences saw that, he said, you guys, they should just give you money, right? Because you already do this engaged learning, and you're doing very creative stuff. And that's basically our faculty. But then, universities don't work like that. They're not going to give you money for what you're already doing. So we had to think pretty creatively. We thought in year 2 about a proposal. We submitted a pre-proposal, which was basically internships, and the university said, man, internships, we have those all over the place. So we thought bigger. So we submitted a proposal in August 2015, and we got funded in October. This proposal, if I could explain it in brief, was essentially signed by, I can't remember, I think 16 chairs of departments or deans of colleges, the Dean of the College of Engineering, School of Public Health, SNRE, our chemistry department, the Stan School of Art and Design. The idea is we would like to use the extra capacity we have before summer term and maybe a little bit after summer term to bookend courses at the biological station. What does that mean? That means you could basically, a faculty from any unit on campus, if they could conceive of a course that addressed an environmental topic or, better yet, a thorny environmental problem, and would like to use the biological station as a resource, they can design a course that would run most likely in winter semester and then be bookended in May and June for 2 to 6 weeks at the station. So students might learn, they might explore a question or a topic, get some theoretical background, whatever, and then prepare for a 2 to 6 week session at the station. That's capped it off. Alternatively, they could bookend the front end and have a field experience sometime during the spring, summer, fall, and then use their data and their findings to round out the course at home. Any other thing is possible. In the more distant past, 15, 20 years ago, there were semester-long courses twice run by the residential college. That's a possibility too. So if you're at the U of M, this is an opportunity for you. If you're not at the U of M, we have other opportunities that Rebecca Harden and Arun will talk about later. But essentially, the college was wonderfully supportive. They committed $500,000 over 5 years to support a new administrator to help us run this. That would be seated in the biological station office, do outreach to other units, assist with, so how will this work out? Well, we're going to develop a review and advisory panel that will review proposals for courses. So it's not going to be me, it's not going to be one person, it's going to be a panel of 6 to 8 people who will take in these proposals. We hope to have a request for course proposals operative very soon. We'd like to hire the person first, but the request for proposals will be issued maybe before we hire that person. Anyway, and we can expect visits at the station this summer from prospective teachers of courses and prospective chairs and deans and so forth. So we could have environmental chemistry courses at the station, even law courses, art and design courses. People have already been contacting us with ideas, but there hasn't been a formal RFP for courses. So that's the idea. Any questions about the 3rd century? Comments? You can get, okay. I just want to review our research program. Our research profile is really quite strong. Last year, we had 43 master's or PhD students at the station working on their theses or their PhDs. We were 4 or 5 years ago when the IRIC program ended after 11 years, we were a little concerned that given the withdrawal of that support, we might not have as many graduate students, but that hasn't dented our graduate student population at all. The 6-year mean of graduate students at the station is 39. We have more than 40 PhD level researchers, that is postdocs or faculty or research scientists. 15 of those are from the U of M. We have all those statistics I just told you about. And we also have, we're funded by grants, 39 agency grants. Some of them are to people in this room, they're not all to the U of M instructors. In fact, 10 are to UMBS-based researchers such as Luke Nave, Paul Drebnick, Chris Vogel, myself, and 10 are to other UM faculty and researchers, and then almost 20 to investigators from other institutions. NSF funded 16 projects. So while we're not in the long-term ecological research network of sites, we're functionally, I like to call us a very long-term ecological research site. We're 106 years old. We interact with LTER. Jason's done a wonderful job interacting with data managers from all the 22 or so LTER sites across the country. So we are a functional LTER site. In some ways, I've talked with my LTER colleagues, because I work at 2 other sites that have. And in many ways, with the diversity of funding we have, we're a little more stable. My LTER colleagues in Woods Hole, who run 2 LTERs, 3 actually, are very dependent on a large grant that's renewed every 6 years, and they go through all kinds of anxiety and stuff. And I'd like to also go through that anxiety, but the fact is that we have a diversity of funding sources, and they overlap in time. So we're not particularly vulnerable to a non-renewal. But the challenge is to keep our research program active and keep people, make this a great place to do work, develop best practices. Am I supposed to stand here if this is, or people online are just looking at the slides anyway, right?
I'm following you with the camera, so you stand where you like.
Oh, good. Okay, I can do gymnastics. Other networks we're part of are the Global Lake Ecological Observatory Network. We have one of the state-of-the-art buoys, and Jason and Carrie are very active in keeping us connected with GLEON. GLEON has threatened to have one of their international meetings at the station sometime. We're trying to figure out how to accommodate them. We're not sure if we can do that, but maybe for the right price we can do anything. Those are the U.S. GLEON sites. There's our buoy. I announced this last year, but it is a big, big deal. We are now a Department of Energy core, a meriFlux network site. That means the big tower that's out in the Douglas Lake, the road to the Douglas Lake Bar. What? Bryant Road, thanks. That's been up since the late 1990s. Chris Vogel's been involved almost from the start. Peter Curtis is the lead PI from Ohio State. Chris Goff and from VCU, Gilbor, myself are co-PIs. So this is a 10-year grant cycle. Well, actually, it was kind of humbling to have them say, well, it's kind of open-ended. We don't really view it as 10 years. The Department of Energy is very interested in carbon cycling, and forests, of course, are carbon sinks for about 20% of our global human emissions. So we get core support from this. It's tremendous leverage. It's allowed us to write NSF grants and grants to other agencies, knowing that those measurements are going to be made for a long time. So that's great. So those are all successes. I want to talk a little bit about funding. The college is actually showing signs of being very supportive. They supply about $1.75 million a year. Some of that goes to staff, but a lot of it goes to infrastructure. We've had upgrades this year that you should know about. Maybe Carrie will talk in detail about them later, but our sewer system is being redone. New cabinet furniture. IT networks are always being upgraded, and upgrading bathrooms in Manville and Blissville. This is not trivial stuff. So the college is investing. They know we're here for the long term, and it's a good sign. Well, I meant to mention when I talked about our projects, all these projects, but we also have been planning a red pine timber sale. Some of the old plantations that are sort of west down the hill from the big moraine that overlooks Pelston, we will be cutting, and we'll be using that some of those dollars earned to fund research infrastructure. We are hoping to do another burn and add to our burn chrono sequence in 2017. During this meeting, I'd like to identify someone who could maybe get some summer support to help us plan for and conduct the burn. So people in this room are interested in that, and our forest ecologists, we may be talking with you if we haven't already. So the college has been quite generous. Sponsored research brings in over $500,000 a year to the station. Gifts, we have donors, and that's wonderful. Actually, this is a large fraction of our budget. $320K out of about $3 million is over 10-11% of our budget is gifts. Most of that is scholarship support. And internal fee-based, this is what we get from room and board and station fees that helps pay for staff, and upgrades. Some of our staff are solely dependent on our population paying their room and board. Just almost to the end here. Good. Our numbers are once again high. We had last year a few more students than we normally have. Spring and summer total was 130. This star here is because we sometimes aren't exactly sure how many people we have, but it's close enough. We have, again, I said, a lot of graduate students, which is great. Our undergrad, mostly undergrad student population is stable or increasing. We hope with third century it increases more. And about 340 to 350, 380 people per year at the camp. We can actually expect larger populations as third century folds out. But I think most of that increase in population will be during May and June before summer term.
Very good.
Yeah.
Have the mini go back to the selected?
Yeah, sure. What happened? Dang. Is it up now? Okay. Go ahead.
Well, you don't have to, but the mini courses, it looked like it fell to 0. Are the mini courses canceled?
We can't accommodate the mini courses this year. But we are having, I think, very correct me if I'm wrong, but we're having a FABS weekend. So FABS is sort of a mini course event. Friends along the biostation, people can register and come. We have field trips, activities and stuff, but it's not focused on individual courses. It's focused on larger interactions. So we want to always, to the maximum extent possible, allow alums and friends to come in and experience the biostation again. So it's not that we've ended mini courses forever. It's just that there's a limited number. We have a finite capacity. We have a huge number of people, and I think Steve Burton is going to talk about this coming in July for an atmospheric chemistry campaign. People from across the country, from the National Center for Atmospheric Research. So that's part of our bursting at the seams. Oh, I guess we're done. All right, so we have a few minutes for questions. I wasn't supposed to end until 9:15, and I'm happy to entertain comments or questions. No comments or questions? Well, I should announce that I'm going on sabbatical starting in September, and it's likely to be a whole year. So in the summer of 2017, I'll probably come back to the station as a researcher for at least part of the summer, and then I'll return after sabbatical in the fall of 2017. We don't know who my sabbatical replacement is yet, but the Dean's office is working very, very diligently with us, and we've identified a candidate. Have not yet submitted an offer, so I can't really speak about that, but I will assure you that when I come to the station in 2017, I will give that director all kinds of complaints and comments and suggestions. Okay.